Let's bring in now criminal defense attorney and federal litigator Vic Bajaj, along with the author of the new book, Lawless Lawfare, Washington Times legal affairs reporter Alex Swoyer. Good to see you both. Thank you. Vic, this appears on the face of it to be pretty simple. No more injunctions. The president can instigate whatever policies he wants. Is it that simple?
It is that simple, but it took 119 pages of decisions and words and explanations to get to that obvious result. And the reason, Jonathan, I say it's obvious is because Article 3 gives this exact authority to district judges, not to give injunctions to people who are not in front of them. Article 3 says, hey, as a federal judge, you can do what you want as long as there's a case or a controversy, a person in front of you that's going to be affected by that decision. It's no miracle that we have only 4 or 5 district judges around the nation that have issued these monumental injunctions to stand in the way of the election and what Donald Trump was elected to do. It is, to answer your question, very simple, but it took a long time to get here.
Alex, Democrats, some of them, not surprisingly, very disturbed by this. Chuck Schumer among them, writing on X, quote, "By weakening the power of district courts to check the presidency, the court is not defending the Constitution, it's defacing it. This ruling hands Donald Trump yet another green light in his crusade to unravel the foundations of American democracy." What say you to that, Alex?
Well, I think it's pretty rich of Senator Schumer. He's done this before with his rhetoric, and then it's resulted in an assassination attempt against Justice Kavanaugh. So it's unfortunate to see the Democrats go towards those use of words and the idea that the rule of law is under threat. One other Democrat that we've thought about during this whole debate was Justice Kagan, a Democrat appointee. In 2022, she actually talked about that it just doesn't seem right that one district court judge would have this much power to block a nationwide policy. Yet she was in the minority on this case. It's unfortunate to see it have to be 6-3 ideologically. When you read the majority opinion from Justice Barrett, she went in depth about the historical nature, that there's nothing back in English law linking to universal injunctions, that the Judiciary Act likely doesn't authorize this. So it was a well-founded opinion. It's unfortunate that it was so politically divided.
And Vic, talking of the division here, we saw a very rare public slapdown of Justice Jackson by Justice Coney Barrett. It was extraordinary, the back and forth that they allowed to be public.
Well, you're astutely pointing out, number one, it's rare, and number two, this was a majority opinion, which means every justice had the opportunity to look at that, fine-tooth comb and say, I don't agree with certain sentences. But every one of the majority opinion justices said, we authorize and we emboss this attack, basically saying, all that colorful language is fine, dissenting opinion, but how about the Constitution and what about the law? And what this really highlights, Jonathan, is this very serious issue we have, which is biased jurists. The judges need to be unbiased, administer the law. And we talked about 119 pages to get to the clear letter of the law. We are now unfolding and unmasking the political biases of these very important district court judges and now a Supreme Court justice.
And Alex, it seems that on both sides, you're seeing a Supreme Court that is maybe more clearly divided, I don't want to say than ever before. My history isn't that good enough to know. But we are seeing a Supreme Court that is very much divided along our ideological lines right now.
I've covered the Supreme Court for almost 10 years, and I've never seen something like this with two justices going at it so publicly back and forth from a dissent to a majority opinion. And one of the things I think you asked me about Senator Schumer and his remarks, it's the rhetoric also that we're seeing in the dissents. So Justice Sotomayor talked about no right is safe now. Justice Jackson talked about the rule of law being under threat, that this opinion means that constitutional rights of people not involved in lawsuits are at stake. And I think the majority was just tired of that hyperbolic nature and said, no, the country has functioned without the universal injunctions for a century or more, right? And that this is just, it's gone too far.
Okay. And Vic, before you go, I would be remiss of me not to get you to comment on what is going to be one of the big stories of next week. Looks like the Sean Diddy Coombs trial will go to the jury to probably on Monday, it would appear. How do you see that playing out?
Well, it really depends on which side's more persuasive as to which lens they're going to ask that jury to put on. Are they putting on a lens that says, look for the crime? Or are they educated on the jury instructions where the defense will say, you can look at the evidence, but through the lens of presumption of innocence? It's a difficult case, but some of that evidence is so damning that it's hard for a jury to unsee or unhear it.
Yeah, it's really going to be an interesting one to watch. Yes. Vic, thank you very much. Alex in D.C., I believe you are. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.